Honestly, Fender, this is an absolute disgrace.
Hey, Jazzy!
Hi, Uncle Ebony. I was just wondering, will I grow up to be a big, strong, Texas Jumbo Forever guitar pick just like you?
It doesn't matter how big you are, son. It matters what you're made of. If you don't agree that Forever Pick is the most awesome tone-producing, mind-twisting tool you've ever strummed across your strings, Luthier Robert S. Paul stands behind it. You get a full refund. Click below and save now.
Hey y'all, it's Shitpost Friday.
Hello everybody, or should I say folks. Brad the Guitologist here. It's time for Shitpost Friday. First up in the news, this is really big news as far as I'm concerned. We've talked a lot on this channel about David versus Goliath. You know, we've talked about a lot of WMG going after small YouTubers to try to get their videos taken down or to make claims against people, and they just push people around because they can, because they have all the lawyers and they have all the money. Well, recently Fender, it appears at least, is trying to do the same thing to a company called Lucky Dog Guitars. Lucky Dog Guitars are built in Cleveland, Tennessee by Anthony Sims. It's a one-man operation. So far in his operation, he's made, I think he said, around 75 guitars, something like that. And all of them are very boutique guitars, very high-end looking and very, very handmade down to the finest details. He even has a lot of local people doing things for him, like making the bridges and all the hardware and everything for him, with the exception, I think, of the tuning machines. A lot of that stuff is actually either made by him or made by other people in local machine shops close to him. He has been threatened by Fender, he says, several times, and this latest threat from Fender has to do with his headstock. Check this out. I just want to show you guys this dubious way in which lawyers will come after a smaller firm and try to bully them and try to intimidate them and try to threaten them into doing what they want them to do. You know, and that might work with a lot of people. Typically, I find with Southerners, doesn't work too much because we don't give a shit. And this guy seems to be the same way, because he is definitely fighting back. Apparently, Fender's lawyers have sent him a cease and desist, telling him that his headstock is too similar, just way too similar to their Telecaster. So this guy makes a lot of kind of very Tele-ish shaped guitars. He had one for a while. He called it the Televangelist for a little while. He actually has a trademark out on the name Televangelist. According to him, he has since negotiated with Fender about possibly changing that name. And I also, just for the record, I reached out to Fender, their PR person, Christina. I reach out to her anytime I do any kind of Fender story like this, because I want to give them a chance to respond before I go live to 65,000 plus subscribers. And she didn't get back to me the last few days, so it's another one of those situations, man. You know, if I reach out for a quote and offer you guys a chance to defend yourselves, it's probably best to quote me back something and say, you know, hey, we did this just because we felt that this and this were too similar. You know, you could have said anything, but nothing is not, it doesn't really help your cause. But anyway, this guy did respond to me when I asked him about what was going on, because I first saw this on Facebook, and it just piqued my curiosity, because this guy was getting bullied around, and you know, I hate to see that sort of thing, a big company going after a small company like that. Now, if there's grounds to do so, yeah, fair play. But in this case, it looks like they're going after a headstock that doesn't even look remotely similar to the classic Telecaster headstock. Again, this guy had named his Tele-like guitar a Televangelist, and has a trademark on the Televangelist name, but of course Fender has trademarks on Telecaster and also Tele for guitar use. So I don't know how that would have played out in court had they gone after him for the Televangelist thing, but he said that's actually in the past, and according to my conversation with him, this latest threat from their lawyers has everything to do with the shape of his headstock. Every one of us knows what a Telecaster headstock looks like if you've been playing guitar for any length of time. Absolutely, it's a classic headstock shape. Absolutely, I do believe that Fender has a right to go after people who use that headstock shape. I'm not even saying that. But what I am saying is, when somebody comes up with a headstock shape that's this far off of your classic headstock shape, you know, it's probably not a good idea to use your lawyers on retainer to go bully a guy who's only made 73 guitars in his entire life, you know, just because you can, Fender. You know, people usually don't take kindly to that kind of thing. Usually I find people side with the underdog in those sorts of fights. You know, that's why we read stories about David and Goliath, and we cheer when Goliath gets his head smacked in with a rock. I don't foresee many people siding with you on this one, Fender, if I'm honest. But, you know, the more I talked to this guy, Anthony, you know, he didn't want to comment on certain things, but, you know, which is understandable. His lawyer is in talks, I think. He's actually hired a lawyer now at $650 an hour, which is, you know, an expensive proposition for somebody who's basically fighting for his small business's life. And, you know, I asked him if he had a GoFundMe page, and at the time I talked to him, I think it was on Monday or something, he said no. And I said, well, you know, if you do set something up like that, just let me know and I'll gladly share it. He has since set up a GoFundMe, and within the first 24 hours, he raised over $6,000, and he's well on his way to his $30,000 goal, which will go toward legal fees trying to fight this this thing that Fender is trying to pull on him.
Morning, everybody. It's Anthony from Lucky Dog here in Cleveland, Tennessee. It's a beautiful morning out here, and hear all the birds chirping and everything. And I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about something I was kind of reluctant to share, but I did create and share a GoFundMe page this morning on the Lucky Dog page. I could use a little bit of help just handling some of these legal matters that I'm having to deal with. You know, I complied with quite a few requests from this large manufacturer, hoping to put some things behind us, but now the fight has kind of went to my headstock, which I do not believe is a copy in any form or fashion of anyone else's headstock. So I've had to engage a lawyer who is pretty adept at going after this kind of stuff and to help support me, and I have full confidence in him. But the cost could be as high as $650 an hour, and I've already spent quite a bit. So after a lot of outpour of support from you guys, not just the USA, but from literally around the world, and people asking about donating, I decided to go ahead and set that GoFundMe up. And anyone who donates who is on the list for a future build, you can apply your donation to that future build, assuming I'm still in business, which I plan to be. But I just wanted to let you know what that was all about, and just tell you that I really, really appreciate you, and you know, everything you've done so far. And if you get a chance, share that GoFundMe link on your pages and guitar groups that you're in. Appreciate you all. Bye-bye.
Fender does this to a lot of other builders as well. And again, this is just a classic tactic. You try something on, you see what works, and you've got lawyers on retainer anyway, so why not, you reckon? You know, why not just send these out? And some of these people are so small, they'll just comply, even if they're in the right. You know, and I think that's what Fender's thinking here. And a part of it is, yes, this is the way that business is done in the 21st century. This is one of the consequences of capitalism. Sure, it has, you know, I'm not defending it. I think it is a disgusting behavior. Even though they can legally do it, I don't think they should be doing it. But, you know, it's going to cost him a lot of money to try to fight this, and hopefully a lot of you guys reach out, or you know somebody who would want to help this guy. But I thought the brilliant thing that he did when he created his GoFundMe was he actually said in his GoFundMe that anybody who donates to the GoFundMe can actually deduct their donation from a future build. So if you were looking to have something built by a really very interesting boutique builder anyway, you're not going to lose out on anything. Very sad that Fender would engage in this kind of behavior, but again, you know, they're the big corporate behemoth. What are you going to do? You know, like I said, a lot of builders have gotten the same sorts of cease and desist and had to change things and had to negotiate with Fender's lawyers and you know, all this sort of thing. And there are a lot of builders out there who actually get around being able to build T-style or Tele-style guitars by using, they actually have to buy in their Fender necks, licensed necks that are made by All Parts or made by some other company that gets the license for the manufacture of the necks, just so that they can make their Telecaster shapes or their Strat shapes or whatever it is they want to make that's you know, Fender-like. But anyway, you know, I wish this guy all the best. If you want to hear more about it, go check him out on Facebook. He also has a Lucky Dog Guitars website. I think he also has an Etsy store where he sells hats and t-shirts and stuff like that. But yeah, any support you could show this guy, I'm sure would be much appreciated. He's got a wife and a kid. Like I said, he's very small, and at this point he says that he's in the fight for his business's life. So, and also, since we're talking about Fender here, I thought I would go ahead and comment on the CMA in the UK and the raid that happened over a year ago now. Fender was raided by the CMA, which is the Competition and Markets Authority in the United Kingdom. Essentially, this Competition and Markets Authority, they can barge into any business they want to without a warrant, apparently, which I still don't get, but okay. But anyway, they barge into Fender's offices and demand all this paperwork because they believe that Fender is not being fair or something in their pricing or whatever the case may be. But anyway, we discussed that a lot about a year ago, and now Fender has actually been fined £25,000 because they failed to turn in certain documents whenever they were requested. This Competition and Markets Authority had requested, I guess, all documents that might be related to certain aspects of their business, and one of the employees had notebooks or something that were his or her private notebooks that they didn't turn in at the time. But this employee since has actually been terminated or has lost their position, I suppose. Maybe even because of this, I don't know. But Fender has now been fined £25,000. Again, I reached out to them for comment on that story, and I have not heard back. So again, we're following that story still as it develops. It's been over a year. I can't think of many things less efficient than a government investigation.
To keep that blade moving in an arc.
The interesting thing about this fine was that, you know, Fender actually found these notebooks independently and turned them in without having to be asked, and still they get a fine for it. Had they just burned the fucking things or hid them under a desk or something, or just throw them in a dumpster and said they didn't, you know, I'd never seen them before, they wouldn't have gotten any fine at all. But they turn them in and try to do the right thing, the company, and they get a £25,000 fine. You know, I don't side with Fender on many things, but on this is absolutely ridiculous. And plus, again, you know, this CMA has taken over a year, and they still haven't gone anywhere on this investigation. They opened these investigations on April 17th of 2018, and there's still no update except for being fined. Except for being fined.
2, 1, shrapnel, 1, 2, here it comes,
But it's a stroke. Yes.
That's brilliant stuff. And what's also funny about this, last year we also speculated on this channel that a certain German firm who all the YouTubers seem to be fawning over these days was most likely behind shopping them into the CMA. Could be some interesting behind-the-scenes drama going on there. It's also important to note in this CMA case that if found guilty, Fender could also face a fine equal to up to 10% of its annual global revenue. So that could be pretty devastating. On another subject, I ran across this very interesting article from the SmithsonianMagazine.com about the Hawaiian steel guitar and how it changed American music. It details the biographical exploits of one Joseph Kikuku. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. In the early part of the 20th century, he invented the Hawaiian steel guitar and went out to the American West to perform with the thing. And he was pretty much responsible for the whole kickoff of the lap steel movement, the Hawaiian steel movement, and bringing Hawaiian music. He was part of that whole thing of bringing Hawaiian music to America in the first part of the 20th century. And Hawaiian music was actually really big in the United States from about the turn of the century up and all the way into the 40s. They were still making Hawaiian steel guitars quite a lot and selling quite a few of them. Also, ukuleles were big sellers as a result of this Hawaiian music explosion. There were a lot of records that were sold that were Hawaiian music, and also the proliferation of Hawaiian music and slide guitar also probably probably helped spark the Delta blues movement as well in the United States, which came slightly later, which also utilized the slide and sometimes utilized slide in a lap steel configuration. So very interesting article, just really neat to learn these sorts of things about history, and it's also pretty neat to kind of learn how these historical touchstones can apply to our assessments of vintage instruments like the kinds that we've seen at a couple of the music stores that we visited recently. Speaking of old guitars, I wanted to show you guys this thing, this weirdo thing that I saw at a Cincinnati museum when my family went there a little while back. I have been meaning to show you guys this for quite a while. I took some photographs of this thing because I just thought it was so interesting. Some local yokel over that way, you know, made this thing with his own hands, and I don't think he was following any kind of pattern, but he definitely made something extremely unique as a result. They have it in their folk art collection. It is a playable instrument, but it looks like just barely. But I just thought it was really neat looking, and something that definitely, if you're into wild, crazy old guitars like we all probably are on this channel, you'll definitely get a kick out of this. Also, I wanted to show you this thing. Speaking of, old, handmade, homemade, vintage instruments of sorts, this was made by this gentleman's grandfather. This was sent in by Eusebio Rodriguez, and he says, "Hi, Mr. Bradley. I'm one of your Spanish followers. Hi, Eusebio. Thank you for your videos. They are really pleasant to see and very instructive. I was looking at old family objects, and there's a picture of my grandfather's tube tester. I thought that you will enjoy seeing it." Well, check this thing out. This is something that his grandfather built himself. I don't know if he designed the circuit or not, but this is all homemade. If you look really closely at this, I'll scroll in for you guys to be able to see this, but you can see how handcrafted this thing is and how old it must be. Now, I don't know, it looks like he does not have, I can't see any 9-pin, well, there is a 9-pin socket. It looked like it might have been added later, that the 9 and 7-pin sockets were added. But, so yeah, I guess that would probably put it somewhere in the early 50s. Maybe this thing was made, but definitely made by his grandfather's own hands. Very interesting. He had to, like I said, either go off of an existing circuit or design the circuit himself, and it looks to me as if the circuit drawing, the schematic that's in the lid right there, is actually hand drawn. So that's very possible that he also designed this circuit, and just an ingenious bit of machinery, and just really harkens back to a time when people were much more hands-on, much more willing to learn a skill. And I salute your grandfather, Eusebio. This is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. This is something that your family should definitely cherish. Okay, so that'll do it for the news. I was thinking we might open a package I just got today. All right, guys, I have just this one package this week. This comes from David Massey. Let's see what we have here. This is a photocopy from a page of a booklet included in volume 25 and 26 of the Franklin Mint collection of the greatest recordings of the big band era. I thought you'd appreciate the banner behind the band. What's the banner behind the band? Make love with a guitar. I like that. What do we have here? Looks like maybe some records. Cool. Really? There's quite a few in here. Okay, it looks like we got several records here and a reel tape. Okay, so this is something very special. I do remember talking to Dave about this. So on this tape, and this might even be the original unheard recording of Johnny Cash, an interview from 1967, and you guys may be the first to hear this interview on this channel. You can see right there it says Johnny Cash, and then he gives some details as well. Like I said, he's got all the details of this between what he's got written here and what is written in our correspondence. I will publish all of this. Anything that I find here that's relevant, that is Johnny Cash related, is going to be digitized and put up either on this channel or over on channel 2. And we're going to check out, hopefully, a full interview with Johnny Cash from 1967, which would be just cool as hell. Just notice packaging this up that the tape is wound on a Scotch reel, which doesn't match the box. However, it could be the reel that was mismatched with the tape. It could be the take-up reel. So, you know, a lot of times that would happen. You would get a reel, and then you would have the take-up reel, and somebody would just pull it off and just leave it on the take-up reel instead. So that's common. That's no big deal. I don't think I mentioned in the email that my brother-in-law acquired the tape at an auction in DeWitt, Iowa at some point prior to 1987 when I acquired it from him. So he got this tape in 1987 from his brother-in-law, and he had gotten it from an auction. It came with an Akai tape deck, and as you probably know, it was common for servicemen to purchase electronics at a much discounted price and ship them home. It was cheaper than purchasing here in the States. Anyhow, beyond that, I have no idea who would have owned the tape, but most likely a Vietnam vet brought it or shipped it back. It's quite possible it was passed around. As you'll hear, it was made to be played for the servicemen in Vietnam, but I couldn't say whether it was played over the Armed Forces radio. I couldn't say, but probably Bobby's son Ron would know. So yeah, this is going to be super duper interesting, guys. I mean, this is one of the most remarkable things that I've probably received. What I'm hoping to do is to digitize this tape and hopefully find a long lost interview with the great Johnny Cash. And this is also cool. That's an old Sun pressing. This one was purchased new by my uncle. The rest are estate sale finds. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Wonder if the disc is in any decent shape. Not too bad. I've seen a lot worse. The fabulous Johnny. You know what's funny? Actually, literally just yesterday, I found a Johnny Cash LP at a store. It wasn't a record store. It was like one of the little antique malls. Fabulous Johnny Cash. Heck yeah, that's cool. What's this got on it? I Still Miss Someone. I recognize that, obviously. Don't Take Your Guns to Town, I recognize. Pickin' Time is a good song. That's got some stuff I don't have. Bitter Tears. Are you kidding me? Are all these Johnny Cash? Dude, man, this is awesome. Ira Hayes. Call Them Drunken. Copyright. We don't sing it anymore. Never even seen this record. I've never seen this one anywhere. It's got Wabash Cannonball on it. Yeah, cool, man. There's another one. Gosh, this is like a 2-disc set. Dude, this is awesome, man. Gosh, I've got... And you know what's cool about this? I've got a few Johnny Cash records, and you haven't given me one duplicate yet. And that one right there is a double album. That's awesome. That is super cool. This is actually more like a greatest hits kind of a thing. Looks like, yeah, 5 Feet High and Rising, Walk the Line, all that good stuff. Green Grass of Home. I don't think I've ever heard his version of that. That's a good set right there. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Yep. I do not have this one, believe it or not. And that's in great shape. I actually have the Roy Clark, the Super Picker one. I do not have this, though. I don't have that one. Dude, that is awesome. You sent me, man, that's several records there. And I really, really appreciate that. That's so cool. Thank you very, very much, Dave. And yeah, if you guys want to see and hear this Johnny Cash 1967, I believe he said, interview, this should be very interesting. I will get on this hopefully within the next few days when I get a little bit of spare time and try to get one of my machines that will play this, and we can digitize it. And like I said, I'll probably throw it up over on channel 2 because that seems a little bit more appropriate. I don't know. We'll see. I might also put it on another Shitpost Friday, and we'll just maybe just tack it on the end of a Shitpost Friday or something. I don't know, though, because this would probably be better as its own video. But anyway, yeah, thank you, Dave. That is super cool. I'm so stoked about that tape. Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, guys, this Shitpost Friday will be a little bit bittersweet. We are saying farewell to one of our longtime sponsors, Forever Pick. This will be our last sponsorship video with Forever Pick. Maybe they'll be back in the future, but I wanted to wish Rob and his Forever Pick team over there all the best. Rob has, you know, he has a family to support just like so many of us, and he has really enjoyed showing us his wares, the Forever Pick, the things that he creates with his own hands. And I like to find people who are doing their own thing, who are carving their own path in life and doing something different. If one of you guys fits that bill and you have a small business that you would like to advertise on this channel, hit me up at my email address. It's bradlinzy@gmail.com, and we can talk about some ad rates. Oh yeah, one more thing I thought I would show you before we part ways. That same little antique store where I bought that Johnny Cash record, I've also found this. This was hanging on the wall, and this is not a guitar strap, and it's not a banjo strap. This is a camera strap, but check it out. It's actually got the little additional strap for the cans, for the film canisters. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't think I've ever seen one with the film canisters like that. That was a camera strap. But these are real cool, the old camera straps like this, because you can repurpose these into good banjo straps as well. So yeah, definitely cool. I thought that was a good find. Alright guys, that'll do it for Shitpost Friday. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please hit subscribe down below. Also hit the bell to receive all notifications. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to my second channel, Guitologist Channel 2, sometimes I do put extra stuff up over there, and I've got some old episodes of Mr. Wizard I might digitize and put up over there. But anyway, yeah, for now, y'all take care.